Hey, what's up, online community? And thanks for stopping by and checking out another segment of Straight No Chaser, where I get to talk sports and culture for fans, oftentimes with the fans. Now, I know that we've been inundated over the past couple of weeks with a lot of guests from the sports world. So today I want to scale it back. And let's get back to the culture. Let's talk about some things that make us laugh. And what better way to do that than to talk to three hilarious comedians that are going to be talking about their experience in the comedy and entertainment world, how they got into the comedy profession, where they're at, and kind of how they see themselves and where they see their careers going. So before we get into it, if you got your favorite libation, you know how we do it. Raise your glasses. We're about to get into it. Straight No Chaser. So my first guest joining me tonight is Rodney Lumpkins. He's a Chicago local comedian. He hosts a comedy show in Northwest Indiana. He's building up his acting portfolio and his profile. Rodney, thanks for joining the show. Thanks for coming on. We've also got
no problem, man. Thanks for having me,
man. Thanks for popping on. Also, we got Marvin Phipps. Marvin Phipps, he's another local comedian. He's studied at Second City. He hosts Jokes and Notes. He's building his acting portfolio. He's worked with some of the hottest comedians to come out of Chicago. Marvin Phipps, thanks for popping on the show. Thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
And thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir.
Last but not least, we've got Dwayne Kennedy. He's an Emmy Award-winning writer. His acting and writing credits have spanned 3 decades. His stand-up comedy routines are all over the internet. He's someone that is not unfamiliar to the public eye. Dwayne Kennedy, thanks for popping on for Straight No Chaser tonight. Thanks for joining the show, my brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Cool. Well, you know what? I know one of the things that most of our fans want to know, people that are tuning in and watching, how did you get started into stand-up comedy? And just the comedy scene. I'm going to ask Marvin first, then I'm going to go to Rodney, and then come back to Dwayne. So Marvin, how did you get into stand-up comedy?
Well, for me, man, it started, just always being that typical funny guy at school. And comedy, just being a fan of comedy, but I never thought about being a comedian. But what did it for me was way back in MySpace days, I saw an ad by Little Rail saying open mic. So at Jokes and Notes. And my mind was blown. I'm like, I never been to a comedy club. I went on a Wednesday night and I saw all these guys talking about stuff I've been saying forever on stage. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna try this out. I didn't know nobody there. I didn't know anything about, performing stand-up comedy. I went on stage about 6 or 7 weeks later. That's how long it took me to get up. And I got bit by that bug, man, and just been performing ever since. And it was over. It was a wrap.
So the first time it took you about 7 weeks. So obviously there were some butterflies the first time you stepped on the stage. Talk about that experience. What was that like?
You know what? It was actually, yeah, I was nervous, but it was something I felt like I've been doing my whole life. Of course I didn't have my timing or, my delivery and stuff like that, but I've always been making people laugh. So, and I went on stage for, I think it was 5 minutes, and just making them laugh with stuff that I would always talk about, and once I got going, it's just like I do today. Once you get that first one off and they laugh, you just go from there, man. It just was a wrap.
And this started in what, 2007, correct?
2007, yeah.
2007, man. 12 years in the game.
Yep.
Ooh.
Went back fast.
Thanks for sharing. Big Rod. Now, let me say this to our guests and then also to our viewers that are watching. I went to college with Rodney. So I knew Rodney the ball player. Right. I knew Rodney the ball player. We used to think he was like Larry Johnson in that post, turning and dunking on people.
Shaq, baby.
Then next thing I know he's on stage 22. I'm like, oh man, my boy Rodney killed it. So Rodney, talk a little bit about how you got into comedy and what was your motivation and what inspired you.
In college, I thought about it, but I was never like the real outgoing type to do that. I remember coming home from college one day, and I was listening to a comedy tape. It was Robin Harris, and I was like, damn, the way he got the crowd, you know what I'm saying, just engaged. And I was like, man, that's a extremely high level, but I would like to, you know what I'm saying, entertain the crowd like that. So I eventually, when I graduated from Illinois State, I went down to, all jokes aside, and I checked out comics, you know, on the Wednesday night was the open mic night. And I checked out comics for about maybe 2-3 weeks. Then I was getting ready to go on stage that following week. And I waited after the show. And then one of the guys that we went to Illinois State with, Craig Robinson, was at the show that night. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do. Man, I'm about to go on stage for the first time next week. And he was like, what? He's like, you don't want to go on stage here at Jokes and Notes for the first time. He's like, I got a spot up on the north side where you could go for the first time. And, I was like, all right, fine, cool. So, and he was right. So that next, I think like Monday, they had a spot called, I remember called like the Monkey Bar or some shit on the north side. That we went to. And it was about, man, about 50, 60 comics there, and there's a long list. And I got a chance to go up for the first time, man. I don't remember what I said, man. It was all crazy, but it just felt good being on stage, man. So that's basically how I kicked it off.
So the first time you hit the stage, what was that experience like? And how long did it take you to work up the nerve to go on stage?
Well, it took about, I think, 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
Like I said, I wanted to watch, I wanted to study, and then I had planned to go up. Actually, I don't think it's a month, but I think it was Morrissey. I think it's a spot called Morrissey. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Dwayne, that they had on the north side that we went up to. And it was just a chill spot, man. Most of the crowd was comics, so wasn't nobody really paying attention anyway. So it gave me a chance just to get that vibe, you know what I'm saying, that feeling of being on stage in front of people doing something new for the first time.
Okay. So, I didn't ask Marvin this. So the first time you went up there, how do you think you did?
Looking now, probably not so, not so great if I had to judge now, but back then I always felt that I did good, you know. Actually, my first time is on YouTube. My first my first 8 sets from Jokes and Notes is on YouTube. So and they're laughing, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so it's cool.
Rodney, what about you? How do you think you did the first time on stage?
Man, I remember I had one joke that I've been studying, and it was a doodle joke, man. And I don't even remember, man. All I know is I survived that first time. I don't think nobody was paying attention. I survived, and I got a chance to go up and do it again, and I never did that doodle joke again, though. So maybe that is how.
Wait, sounds like I heard that doodle joke before. Did you end it with, and then he kicked them in the ding ding? Any more for Ross? Is that how it ended? And then he kicked them in the ding ding. Oh man. Well, obviously both of you all did well enough. You felt like you did well enough because you continued on the path, man. You didn't get discouraged. So Dwayne, you've been involved in comedy and entertainment for quite some time
since,
now. You had a long
30s. Yeah.
So what was that? Thinking back on it, what was that first experience like? You know, kind of what drew you to entertainment, and how was it different now than when you started?
Well, I can start with how it was different. Just listen to Marvin's story. Nothing I ever did was recorded when I first started.
Okay.
Nothing. Thank God. But otherwise it's different, obviously different eras, but it's still the same process. Just, when I was a kid, loved comedy. I love cats, coming up, it was Cosby and Pryor and all those people. But I loved comedy, man. Just watching it on TV and just seeing that, and it just intrigued me, man, how somebody could just present an idea, something in their head, and speak it and get a reaction from people. Like, man, how, that seemed like magic to me, and it is something that the thing I love about comedy, just like seeing all you cats on the show, was just that everybody has their own point of view. It's like I was equated to like different philosophers. You know what I mean? You read a bunch of different type of philosophies, and they're all disparate ideas, but they all make sense in their own way. They all have their own logic. So I love that. So I was funny when I was a kid. Around certain people, and I was very shy. So certain people I was comfortable around them. I could be funny, and I remember as a kid wanting to do comedy. Like, man, that's something I want to do. But then you get older, kind of put that aside. And then one day, and this was Marvin, you probably don't remember this. This is back when they had newspapers, and that's probably before Marvin's time. The newspapers. And there was an ad in I don't know, Sun-Times or something about Zanies having open mic,
Wow.
And so I said, okay, well, let me, again, and I can't remember how long it was before I went down from the time I saw the ad, but I sat down, wrote material out and wrote it out and went on. I went down there with a friend of mine. I think I might have backed out the first time. I think I did this twice, so there's two different times. Anyway, so I wound up going up again, like I said, open mic, 5 minutes, whatever, and it went well. I mean, it went well. I thought it went well, and for me, I think it would have had to have gone well the first time, or I probably would have never done it again.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but like now, the following, I think 2 times after that, it didn't go so good, because I thought that every time you went on, you had to have a new 5-minute set every time. So, yeah. But, I like, and that, that was the thing. It was a crowd, and I went up to it was a Tuesday night at Zanies. Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay.
So good feedback, and yeah. Enough to get me interested and wanting to do it again. Even when I bombed, although it took me about another year to go back up after that. But
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, I took bombing hard, man. I didn't have. Yeah, I was. my psyche is fragile, man. Yeah. Woo.
You know what? Now I gotta ask you. So what? I mean, you bombed. I mean, what was it about your set that bombed? And you said, "Hell no, this is not."
I can't. I mean, just doing stuff. Just material I thought was funny, or and then just you get up there, and that's the great thing about it, man. That moment of truth when whatever you thought was going to be funny, or you think is going to be funny. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but that moment just before you go on stage, like, man, is this going to be funny or not? Is this really going, I mean, I'm at the point now, sometimes, depending on the show, not all the time, but sometimes you want to try stuff and you want to take that chance and you want to see where you can take things. But, when you first start and you think everything has to be a hit, every crowd has to, you know what I mean? But I can't tell you what the material was that I did that didn't get a laugh, but I can remember to this day the bit that I did the first time that that worked. So that's how that goes.
Well, I think all three of you guys hit on something, and that is, at one point you felt like you were funny, you made people laugh, you entertained people. Rodney was working on his doo-doo joke. So, but it's a great segue to my next question. And actually, we had somebody tune in and actually was asking a very similar question. And that was, there's a difference between somebody that's funny and a comedian. And with that, when did you know that not only were you funny, but that you could be a comedian. Dwayne, I'm gonna start with you, and I'm gonna come back to Rodney, and then go to Marvin. So when was it that you knew you were funny, and you were funnier than the average, or potentially funnier than the average person, but then
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I could be a comedian.
I don't know. Maybe a year or two in, is like when you just start to, the difference I think in being funny and being a comedian is basically just having an act, is having a set, is having a beginning and an end. You know, if you say enough funny things, then you're a comedian. If you got enough, you know, and people, again, the beauty of it being done so many different type of ways, people have different styles, but you know, that's what it is. You craft and act. It's not just once you have funny things to say, then it's almost not about what you're saying. It's how you're saying it. It's your presentation. It's all those things, you know. So that's being a comedian. It's not just saying funny things, but it's saying it in a funny way and having a presentation. You know, I think, yeah.
I think that's a great point. One of the people tuning in, shout out to Dennis Sibbett. You know, one of the things that he brings up is, or pointed out, is material or information and things that most people can relate to, that they can find some type of humor in, something that has a broader appeal, so to speak. Something that people can relate to. That's what makes things funny as an audience member, things like that. So, you know, it sounds like, you know, that's kind of where you were going with your material and your act.
Well, you know, and that, but also, man, it's, you know what, and again, the interesting thing about it is there's comics like that, and you know, but there's also when you can say something that maybe is not relatable to anybody, or something that nobody's thought of, and people can still think it's funny. You know what I mean? So it's that as well. I enjoy doing that sometimes. I mean, I like doing bits and pieces of everything as far as a presentation. You know, some things that everybody can relate to, some things that may be personal to you in your perception. You know.
Great.
Yeah.
Rodney, what about you? When you went from being funny, because I knew you were always funny. You know, you always had little quips here and there. But when you went from being, you know, being perceived as funny to, hey, I'm a comedian, this is what I do, and I can make a career out of it.
You know, I think that came just from taking chances in getting in front of people that was unfamiliar to me. Because, I mean, you could be funny in front of your friends and your family. And, of course, as Dwayne mentioned earlier, that he had a certain group of people that knew him well, that he, you know, was comfortable and was funny around. I think when you move from that to a comedian, I think you write and you give yourself, and you're willing to take the chances of not being funny in order to develop material to make it even funnier. So I think it's the preparation in the craft that makes you, that's that difference between being someone who's funny and being a comedian, because it takes a lot of preparation. We all put, maybe, I don't know, maybe you might put a few days just to get 1 minute on stage. You may, you know, off stage, I don't think people realize how hard we work off stage just for 1 minute. I mean, we'll have auditions where you have 60 seconds to prove yourself. And if you can't, you know what I'm saying, get it done then it's a wrap. So that takes preparation. So I think that's the main difference from my point of view.
And I'm glad you touched on that, because I want to come back to that. So, but yeah, great point. Marvin, when did the light bulb go off for you?
For me, man, it's a little bit about what everybody said. Being on stage in front of 200 people or so that don't know you, that don't know where you come from, and you're making them laugh, putting in those hours. Because when you're funny, you're just saying stuff. But when you're a comedian, you're working that craft over and over and over. You know, you collecting data, you're walking around, you know, saying stuff like, I'm gonna keep that. So it's that brain is constantly working, you know, and you're finding stuff like, well, I'm gonna say that on stage, or I'm gonna keep that. It's just working all the time, even when you're not working. Your perception of how you see things you know, being able to touch topics without offending people, but still making it funny. You know, it's just so many things for me when I define being a comedian, because like y'all said, we all been in that barbershop and everybody think they're funny, and everybody say, I could do comedy and this and that, and we constantly have to break that down to people. Like, being on stage is a different animal than just being funny, man. It's, you know, you're doing so much. Your rhythm, your pace, it's so much going into stand up at that point versus just being funny in front of your friends and family and just talking shit. So, but for me, man, after I really was studying and getting books and reading and going into, you know, because I'm from the south side of Chicago, but being able to go up north and, you know, that's the first setting I've been around white people and making white people laugh. To me, that was like, man, I can really do this, you know. So
I'd like to set the record straight. Marvin is actually from the West Side. He was born and raised on the West Side. He claimed the South Side. At some point, they have to take responsibility for their actions.
I'm a South Sider, baby.
All right, I got you, Marvin.
Inglewood.
You know what happens?
There you go. So you know what? I think you guys touched on something, and that is, you know, everybody, you know, wants to be funny, or everybody thinks. I tell people all the time, I'm one of the top 5 funniest people I know. But you guys are able to maneuver through different audiences, different crowds, different demographics, you know, and that's a skill, that's a craft. Marvin, I'm gonna come back to you real quick. Talk about the grind that goes into it, because Rodney started to talk about it and you touched on it. You know, you're honing your craft. Talk about the grind that goes into it, because we see the finished product where you guys are up there for 5 minutes, or you get a comedy special for half an hour. You know, it looks refined and polished, but what is the grind like? What is the day-to-day? What is the smaller clubs and venues or travel?
Oh my God, it's the chitlin circuit, man. You know, out of 7, well, when I first got in the game, you know, all the guys, the big guys at that time, you know, the Bicos and the Damon Williams, they told me, out of 7 days, you on stage at least 5 nights out the week. And I've always worked like I've always been a truck driver. So I'm getting out of a truck and I'm hitting stages, you know, every night, you know, and for that 2-3 minutes, for that 5, and depending on how many comics there, that shortens that time. So it starts out as 5 minutes, but if it's 30 guys there, now people just like, well, I do 3 minutes just to get on stage.
Gotcha.
And like Rodney said, man, you know, it's taking you days and weeks and months for 2 and 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? You're writing and taking L's and, you know, trying new stuff. Stuff ain't working. You're going in bars and you're doing comedy in places that you shouldn't even be talking in, and people, you know, really don't even give a damn about you. But
Right.
I think that's in Chicago where we really get good at, because not only didn't come for comedy, they don't care for comedy, but when you start making those people laugh, and then you get those people coming to a bar on a Tuesday night for comedy, you've really got good, bro. It's like you really doing something, because those people didn't come here for comedy. They wanted a drink. They was actually mad that people was talking, but then, you know, you were able to turn that crowd into a comedy crowd. So it's just stuff like that, man. We was doing comedy in laundromats, wherever we could do it at, man. Yeah. We was stopping while people was putting loads of laundry in wash machines. You know, it's a grind, bro. For real.
Oh, y'all was doing comedy in laundromats?
83rd Street, by this club City Life, we was doing comedy in the laundromat. And people was coming in washing. We'll take a break, do it again. It's crazy. And the neighborhood is fucking dangerous. So it was like, it was 2 things. It's dangerous and we don't supposed to be in the damn laundromat.
You know,
Was it clean comedy?
Put up, coach.
Was it clean?
Yeah, see.
That's a lame joke.
They give y'all some free tokens for the show.
Marvin is braver than I am. Marvin is
83rd.
braver
Oh man.
than I am.
Oh man. Dwayne, what about you? What was that experience like?
Man.
What's
Well,
the
I
time
said
like?
Marvin is braver than me. That brother's braver than me. I mean, I would do. I know what he means though about just doing shows and going up where you can, and you know, going back to the thing you were saying about being a comedian as opposed to just being funny, because the other thing that changes is not only the fact that once you are on stage, the audience now has a higher level of expectation. Their scrutiny is higher. You know what I mean? As opposed to when you standing around, you at the barbershop or you at a party or you at the family reunion, you know, once you step on that stage, people's level of expectation goes up, you know, so you have to meet that. But yeah, just going up where you can, man. And it's interesting. I don't know. Just finding yourself and finding your voice and finding who you are, you know, and how you develop, you know. And part of that is, you know, you go on, you try different material, you try things. People laugh at things, they don't laugh at things, they accept things, they don't. And it's funny to see how you go on stage and you tell people who you are, but then sometimes the audience tells you who you are, you know, by what they're accepting from you and what they're not, you know. Yeah. So I love it, man. I love the process. You never stop learning. You know, like now I'm meeting, you know, I'm meeting Marvin, cats, you know, online. Of course, we're not trying to get COVID, but I'm saying, you know, just to see different cats and see how they do it, and you know, and their experiences. I love it. I love it because you never stop learning. You know.
Cool, great, Rodney. How about you?
They was talking about more of the stage game. I didn't think I want to talk like more of just the writing part and going over your material. I remember I was doing a weekend at Jokes and Notes, and the headliner, I think his name was G something. He was
G
saying,
Thing.
you said what?
Was it G Thing?
No, not G Thing. I know what you're talking about. Now I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And after the show, he asked me to take him to the hotel. I think they were staying down at the Marriott or whatever. So I took him to the hotel. He's like, man, let's go in and get a drink. He went in, got a drink, and
Oh, Rodney, you froze a little bit.
Okay. Woo, I thought that was just
lost
me.
you. Rodney, you might have to log off and log back in. We lost you. While we're waiting on Rodney.
Lose me?
Yeah, Rodney,
Hold on,
we
one second.
lost you. We lost the signal. While we're waiting on Rodney, we have a couple questions from people that are watching while we're waiting on Rodney to unfreeze. So another question from Dennis Sibbett, and he wants to know, I know this is something that's been discussed, not necessarily as it relates to comedy, but just the arts in general, and that is, should teachers or people within the school system encourage people, I don't want to say class clowns, but those that have a gift for entertainment, should they be encouraging those people to participate in the arts? I can't remember the comedian, was it Robin Harris or someone? They said that, or maybe it was Dave Chappelle, they said that they had a teacher that would allow him to get up in front of class for the last 2 or 3 minutes of class once a week if if he wasn't disruptive. He would give him a couple minutes to do a bit, and that's how he really got into comedy. Do you think that teachers should be encouraging those students as opposed to stifling that creativity? And Rodney, we're going to come back to you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Marvin, what do you think?
I think so, because I had a teacher like that. I had a teacher that found a way to connect with me and sort of was like, instead of me being, because a comedian or a funny kid, you're going to get your jokes off in class. Like I was going to make y'all laugh, at some point.
Right.
So my teacher knew that. And so she designated the time for me to, okay, Marvin, do what you do. And after that was done, we go back. So, and at that time, I didn't even, like I said, I never even thought about doing comedy. I just wanted to be funny, just make people laugh in school. But I definitely think teachers should, especially those special kids who, I used to make teachers laugh all the time, and teachers would tell me, I'm not even supposed to be laughing at you, you know. But I guess it would have to take those teachers who have a knack for talent to recognize that in a student, you know, to do so. But I don't think it'll hurt if they did, you know.
Okay. Dwayne, how about you? Your thoughts on teachers allowing students to express themselves, you know, creatively, as opposed to trying to stifle that creativity, you know, kind of borderline encouraging without being disruptive?
No, I agree. I think you should definitely encourage that, because that might be the thing that keeps that student engaged for the rest, you know, for the other parts of the class, you know. And everybody's good at whatever they're good at. And if that's what, you know, or wants to be heard, everybody wants to be heard. And if this is the way this student expresses themselves, and I mean, and you can, I mean, and this is a judgment call, but if you can see, like Marvin was saying, he was making the teachers laugh. So they already thought he was funny. So you can see he's got talent. So if you see somebody that's got some talent, you know, I think that should be part of the school experience. You're encouraging students to fulfill whatever talents they have, you know. So I definitely think that should be encouraged. You know, not to the point where if it's just disrupting the class, but you know, setting some time aside and say, you know, now it's your time, you know, because you never know. That, like I said, that might be the thing that keeps that kid engaged, you know, and gives that kid some insight. Oh man, this is something I can do, you know. Maybe this is something I can do in life. Yeah, you just never know, man. But you never want to stifle creativity, man. And I think that's why it's such a shame now with schools eliminating arts programs and, you know what I mean, gym and all that stuff, man. Just, I mean, granted, the world needs, you know, computer programmers and all that stuff, but everybody can't be a computer programmer. Everybody's not interested in that. And at some point, computer programmers want to laugh too, you know, or they want to appreciate a work of art and all those things, man. So that just makes for a well-rounded individual, I think.
So I'm gonna come back to Rodney. Shout out first off, a couple people that are tuning in watching. Kim Sylvester, Artie, Danielle Watkins, Antonella Cremonese, Dennis Sibbett, CJ Lauren, Michelle Lee, Kenneth Brown, Tina Farley. You know, we got people tuning in. You know, thank you guys for your questions, for chopping it up with us, Brett McPherson, and then also for sharing the post, because they've been sharing it with people, so getting the word out, getting stories out. So I'm glad that we got Rodney back. I thought the Cylons had got you from Battlestar Galactica. So before we lost you, though, you were talking about the grind and the work that you put into refining your material.
Right. I think it is captured in this story. Like I said, I was finishing up, and I'm gonna speed through this show at Jokes and Notes. And as I was dropping the hairliner off at the hotel, we went in to get a drink, and they had like a Miss Teen USA thing going on. Okay. So they were chaperones that was in the lobby. They had just put the contestants to sleep. So it was like mainly the parents. It's a lot of, to make a long story short, a lot of nice looking women in the lobby. So I'm with the headliner. You say what?
I'll say what? Not a lot of nice and horny people wandering the hotel trying to find
a lot of nice looking women in the lobby. So I'm with the headliner, and, you know, they engaged us in conversation, and he's talking, man, and he's cracking them up. I mean, they laughing, they dying. And I'm trying to get some words in, but he's on a roll. I'm like, I can't really say nothing. So I'm just sitting back chilling. And then I realized, I'm like, this dude is doing his set. He was doing the same set that he did at Jokes and Notes in the bar with the beauty contestants. And I was like, one thing I was like, I'm not going over my material enough. I need to be that familiar and that comfortable with my material. So now when I write, I'll bounce a joke off anybody in my circle, you know, just to get some feedback to see if it's funny and make them laugh. So I was like, man, that's part of the grind is being so comfortable and familiar with your material that you can just like flow so smoothly. And I'm like, I was like, they thought he was the funniest dude on earth. I'm like, that's insane.
Hey, that's what happens, man.
That's like cheating, ain't it?
Yeah, I thought, but hey, I guess it's all good.
Boy. I used to do that.
Funny you said that because comedy can happen, or something funny or comedy can happen anywhere, anytime, and any place. I want to come back to something that Marvin said. Marvin, you talked about one of the most bootleg. I'm gonna call it bootleg. Mama named bootleg. I'm gonna call it bootleg. One of the most bootleg performances that you gave was at the laundromat on 83rd Street. So, Dwayne, Rodney, what was probably the most bootleg place that you said, what the hell they got me in this place for, and how am I gonna make it out? What was the most bootleg place you find yourself performing? Because it's all not glitz. It's not all glitz and glamour.
Oh man, I mean, you know what? I perform at if you do one-nighters, man. You know, I never did at a laundromat, but that's actually a common thing. I like, especially like in New York, that people do it at laundromats and whatever. But I've done a lot of bars. You know what I mean? I've done that. Yeah. But but I enjoy it, man.
Right.
To tell you the truth, right?
Those be the best shows, bro.
Yes. Yeah.
The best shows.
Yes. Yeah. Because if you, like I said, if they like you there, they love you. You know.
They love you.
Yeah. Hey, I've had. I mean, like just a traditional comedy club, man, and had some horrible experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
But as far as like the setting, I'm trying to think of. Nah. There used to be a joint up north. I forgot the name. It was it was like a 24-hour restaurant. They used to start the show at 1 a.m. But that wasn't really, but it wasn't. It was cool, you know. Yeah.
All right, so we've got a laundromat on 83rd, a 24-hour dine on the north side. Rodney, can you trump that? What's been the most bootleg place where you worked on some material to perform the set?
I can't trump that, but I'm gonna agree with Dwayne. Like I think one of the hardest. I wouldn't say so much bootleg, but I did the Miller Genuine Draft comedy competition, and this was a competition in Chicago that went around to different bars around Chicago to perform. Just a one-nighter. And some of those nights, man, they would have like karaoke night was a really big thing. And they say, no, karaoke night is canceled. We got comedy for you tonight. We didn't like that, man. That's tough, man. That was tough for people ready to entertain and them having to sit down and watch us entertain. It's hard to be a funny man. People who really ain't trying to hear what you got to say before it can be over. So
right.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? Great segue. Let me ask you this, and I'll start with Rodney, and I'll go to Dwayne, and then come back to Marvin. What's the one set that you just bombed? Like they were just not trying to hear you. They were not feeling you. I mean, you putting your best stuff out there, and they're not trying to hear you. What was that one set? Everybody had that one set. What was that one set, and what was that like?
All right. I don't know if it's my best material, but there was a taping at the Holiday Inn Hotel for BET. I think I was 3 years in the game.
Okay.
And Damon Williams was doing the taping, and it was an epic night. I was there with my fiance at the time, and everybody was doing like 5 to 7 minutes, and then we was getting off stage. Okay. So I was about to go up, but then they put Leon Rogers in front of me. And when I say he destroyed the crowd, absolutely destroyed the crowd. I'm 3 years in the game. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, man, I'm nervous as hell. I'm like, man, how am I supposed to follow that, man? So I'm nervous. So I get on stage and I start, delivering my jokes, and it's not going well. So I'm like, shit. So I'm looking around the crowd, and I noticed my fiance in the back. She talking to some dude in the back, and that's all I. was like the worst night of my life. Ironically, Tommy from Martin was in the crowd that night. And, you know, you wanted to, like, when you see celebrities in the crowd, you want to impress, you know, so you want to do your best shit, man. I was bombing so bad, man. It's just looked like the world has stopped, man. And it was horrible, man.
So you bummed and your girl was getting back on. Damn.
Right.
Right.
That's why you. Is that what you said? Your
Yeah.
former fiance? Oh, that's funny.
Man, that's not a good one. Oh man, that's rough, bro. That's rough. Oh man, Dwayne, what about you? What like I said that you had to just, like I said, they wasn't feeling you, material wasn't hitting.
Oh man, there's been many, but this was one. This was a one-nighter in Hammond, and it was a bar show. You know, white folk, but you know, which is fine, whatever. Go on. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Nobody's laughing. I'm eating it, you know. So then I say, but I didn't mean it. I think the way they took it, I said, man, I came all the way to Hammond to bombing people in front of people I don't even like, and they didn't take that too good. And I heard a couple of N-words after that come flying out the crowd. And I was like, oh boy, because I didn't mean it like I didn't like them because they were white. I just meant, you know, it was, you know, because again, and I'm better about this now. But man, when you're up there and you're eating it, part of you is humiliated, but also you're angry at the crowd. You know what I mean? They're mad at you because you're not funny, but you're mad at them because they're not getting it. Right, you know? Yeah. So I made that comment, but like I said, it wasn't intended racially, but they didn't take it too good, and then I got on out of there. But anyway, I don't want to go through all the bomb stories. I start making myself feel bad. You know what I mean?
No, we want to cry.
I'll leave the show needing therapy.
I was about to say, here at Str8 No Chaser, we have no mental health insurance. You're on your own, bro. So just let you know, I got all disclaimers.
Okay.
But you know, so to that point, Danielle Watkins, who's watching, she asked the question. So when your material's not going well, how do you move on to another joke? Or how do you you're eating it? You know, how do you move on? How do you move on to a better joke, Dwayne? Just kind of piggybacking off where you were saying.
You get, you know, you get to a certain point, you just have, you know, things in the Rolodex, you know, or in the what do you call it? Not the roll. That sounds. Oh, what is it? In the iPad. Yeah, in the iPad.
You scroll.
Yeah. In the scroll, yeah, that you can go to, you know, and the thing is, man, again, going back to that thing you said about being a comedian as opposed to just being funny. When you develop, and this took me a while because, again, just being shy, and it's an act to some degree, but it's also born out of some success. When you develop a certain sort of confidence and you can carry that on the stage, even if you don't even really feel it, but if you look like you're confident and you know what you're doing and you're relaxed, it puts the audience at ease. When you look like you're not afraid and you're confident, then they're confident in you. So even if at that point you can do something that might not go over, but you don't look like you're about to fall apart about it, we'll just move on to the next thing. And so, yeah, so you can kind of, you know what it is? It's like Trump, how confident he is, but how stupid he is. But he's so confident, people believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Here at Str8 No Chaser, we refer to him as number 45.
Number 45. There you go.
45.
Yeah.
On these airways, Mama named 45. I'm gonna call him 45. So.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Marvin, what about? Tell us about a time that that the material just wasn't hitting.
So for me, it's always one of them nights, like Rodney said, is great energy in the room. I think Shaquille O'Neal was there at Jokes and Notes. I think it was some type of audition or some type of taping. And it's one of those shows where everybody's on the show is funny. Like everybody's there is seasoned. Everybody know they shit. So I think for me, I just was, every time I bomb, it's because I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
You know, I didn't do what I should have done. I just did some So this particular night, I think George Wilborn is the host. So the energy is like on 30. I'm talking about it's high level. And so the crazy thing about bombing, you know when you finna bomb. Like I knew it because I didn't match the last comic energy. And when I came in, it was like I was so low, and then I could never recover. And it's just downhill fast. But I've learned since then to know how to turn that around or get out but at that particular time, I was just going down in a ball of flames, and because your rhythm is off. So nothing you're saying is matching anything. It's just like, it's terrible, man. It's like, and you feel it in your soul, and you get off stage and you go to, you don't even speak to nobody. You just get in your damn car and you just drive home, bro. It's the loneliest ride home of your fucking life. So,
that is so true. That is so true.
Your soul be on fire, bro. Like,
that is so true.
What I've learned, when you bomb, you're gonna think about that, and you don't want to feel that feeling no more. Yes. So that shit ain't. That shit ain't happening to me no more. Not like that, bro. Not like that.
Well, you know what? Speaking of picking up the energy, let's pick up the energy. We talked about the experience. We talked about the grind. We talked about your background. We talked about your bombs. Now, Marvin, since you were on the roll, I'm just kick it off with you. Tell me about the time when you hit this. And I interview a lot of athletes, and I'm being an athlete myself. Sometimes you get in the zone. Talk about the experience where, man, you just hit the stage, you were in the zone, the material was hitting, the crowd energy was hitting, you on fire. Talk about the time, man, where you just slammed it, when you just walked off like.
We call that the glow. You remember when Leroy had the glow and I'm talking about like that. You know what? I love when that happens, because everything that's coming off your tongue is just, they not even letting you finish jokes. It's just, everything you say is just hidden, and it's just thunderous laughter. And I remember I went on the road with Michi Hall. He took me to Rockford, and guys be like, "You want to go up first or whatever?" I'm like, I'll go up first. But you really know that you shouldn't put me up first. But I was like, I'll go up first. And it was just one of them nights where I laid them motherfuckers out, and it was just like, it was curtains, bro. And everybody's like, you should have went last. You should have been the headliner. And I was like, hey, man, but I was just unconscious, bro. And I think that comes from, like, I did so many shows, so my material was just embedded in my head. And I perform on how I feel, man. If I feel good, look good, I'm gonna have a good show, man. If I don't feel too good, I don't know, but I'm a feel type of comic. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but if I'm feeling great, it's finna be trouble for somebody who follow me, bro. Cause it's like, I go off that type of energy, and I felt good that night. And I don't drink or I don't smoke. I don't got no vices like that. So I went in, and it was just straight, material, and I just had a ball. I was in Rockford, man. It was one of those
talking about looking good. We got to get you that KNG special sponsorship. Hook you up with some slides, the Steve Harvey special suit. Make sure we got you looking straight when you step on stage. The West Side got to represent.
Hey, man.
West Side got to claim responsibility.
I always said I ain't want to be one of them. I don't know. I haven't got to that point yet, but I hear so many people say it. Damon Williams told me, but I haven't got to that suit comic yet. Even though I'm 39, I haven't got, I don't know. I just be uncomfortable. And like I said, if I'm not comfortable, I can't be funny. I'm t-shirt, jeans, and hat and Timberland comic. That's me.
And looking at some of your work, I mean that fits you. That fits your persona. That fits your image.
Yeah.
To that point, Hey, K&G, they sell boots and Timberlands and stuff too. So, you know, we're not ruling out K&G sponsorship yet. I'm gonna get you that K&G. Even Adam some Stacey Adams sponsorship. I'm gonna look out for you. You know, have you step on stage with some bucks or something. Dwayne. Dwayne, talk about a time when you had the glow.
I mean, there's been times, yeah, a lot of times. Same thing Marvin was saying, man. You're sort of unconscious, and that everything's hitting. You, like you said, you feel right. You feel centered. You know, you feel relaxed. You feel sort of like a kismet with the audience. You know, like you and the audience are one mind. You know, in some ways. You know, and like Marvin was saying that they can't wait to laugh at whatever you're saying. Yeah. Right. So there's been those times, man, and those are the times that have sustained me as far as emotionally for days. Like, man, having a good set like that used to carry me for days, man. In the same way, bombing would make me not go on stage for weeks. Wow. You know, back in the day. This is something I learned, man. But again, going back to the bombing thing, and I only realized in this now that I was always a reticent person, man, and I didn't, like I said, if I had a bad set, I wouldn't go up for weeks, man, or a month. And I realize now that I wasn't serving myself doing that, because just that resilience and learning how to keep pushing, like a cat. Like, I know Chris Rock. I met Chris like early on, before he was just a cat trying to make it. And brother, he used to bomb all the time. All the time. Not that he wasn't funny, not that he was, he had a great mind, but it was a lot of things happening, man. He was still trying to find his voice and different things, Yeah. But I mean, like, you see him, especially in New York, because you could do like 3, 4, 5 sets in New York. So you see him bomb at like 9 o'clock at Stand Up New York, and then bomb at 9:30 at Catch a Rising Star, and then bomb at 10:45 at Comic Strip. But he was always going up. He was always working it. And I realize now that served him, because it led him to be what he is, So, I mean, it is great. You have great shows, and that's a fantastic thing. But I'm learning in some ways just now, man. It's just that when it's not going well, you just got to keep pushing. You just got to keep it moving, Yeah.
Absolutely. Rodney, what about you? Well, talk about a time, or where were you when you hit that zone, when you just had the glow, and everything was hitting for you?
Man, I think that time comes, man, for me, like when I catch a rhythm, like say you have like a Wednesday through Sunday booking, by Friday, Saturday, man, your rhythm be so tight, man, and you feel like in a real good groove, man, where you can kind of ad-lib a lot more off of your jokes. So I think it comes with that, being able to get in the maybe like that third, fourth show, and you just feeling yourself. Everything is, you're not worried about forgetting anything, and I think that's mainly where that rhythm comes, like the weekend shows where you hear the 4 or 5 shows, and then you got 5, 6, 7 show, a Sunday show, and you like, oh man, this is over.
Yeah, I do notice that when I see, especially like Zanies and some of the improv places like that, where they have comedians, booked out for a weekend, or like I say, several days in a row. I do see that. And usually, that energy on the Saturday show is like really rocking. Everybody's pumped, everybody's kicking.
Yeah. And can I add something? I would create, like what Rodney's talking about, I would create that with no matter what shows, like, because I know how many shows I need to have to get into that rhythm. So if I got a big show, let's say June 25th, I'm going to create enough shows before that show to get into that. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to just wait to have that show. I tell myself I need 4 or 5 shows that week. So by the time I do that show on the 25th, I have what he's just talking about. So I will create that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you need those runs to really be on fire like that. So I would do that. Yeah, I hit the stage like that. Even if I'm not booked, I'm hit open mics enough. So when I have that show, boom, it's like I've been on stage 4 or 5 nights out the week anyway. So I'm Gucci by the time Saturday comes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Very good point.
We got some questions. I'm gonna come to the questions because we got Danielle Watkins, Ken Brown, Antonella Cremonese with questions. Before I get to their questions, now you guys have been, a number of different places on tour. Here in Chicago, you've done the Chitlin circuit. I love hearing stories of people, of entertainers, when they're on the road. What's the funniest shit that you've seen while you guys have been out or during one of your sets or in the comedy club that you've been working at? I mean, we already know about the laundromat story on 83rd, but what's the funniest shit that you've seen while you've been on tour or at a club or during a set? I mean, because everybody's got those stories. Something that maybe even that made you even say, man, I can't believe this shit just happened.
So I was at this show and this chick, I was on stage and she just kept flashing, like showing her breast.
Man,
while I'm on stage. So, I'm trying to ignore this shit, but then the crowd started seeing like, man, she kept lifting her shirt. But after the show, they come up to me. They're a black swingers club. You know what I'm saying? It's like 30 of them in the crowd, and they're like swingers, and they like, hey, we want you to come to this. They told me they wanted me to do comedy at this show or at the house, but they comedy. So they end up booking a few comics to come do comedy at this swingers house. So we go, of course, but when I tell you everybody in the house is naked, we're the only people with clothes on. And I'm trying to do stand up, and this chick walked past. And I dropped the mic like, yo, that's my time. I can't do this shit. That's the wildest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Man, you did a stand up thing in a swingers club. I mean, the swingers party. Damn.
I was done, man. I was like, y'all don't even gotta pay me, man. I'm done.
I was about to say it sounds a little bit better than that comp beer and burger you get.
Yeah.
Rodney, what about you? What's some of the funniest shit that you've seen during the show or on the road?
Man, I don't know, Stan. It's just been, I don't know, man. Each show is different, and I can't think of anything that stand out as crazy as what M does. Hey, if they still doing them shows, Dubs, let me know.
Right.
Get on my info, man.
Right.
Oh man.
That's funny.
Man, you know what? Marvin has some of the most crazy experiences. I don't know who your booking agent is.
Right. Hook me up.
We got you a laundromat, the swingers party. Oh man. What about you, Dwayne? Now you've been in Hollywood and you've been all across the country, globally. I mean, I know you've seen a lot. What's been that? What the fuck?
But you know what? I don't, man. I'm still thinking about Marvin's story. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think anything touched that, man. Yeah, I don't have any. I wish I did. Now I got to come up with some wild stories because I've seen funny things happen like during shows. Like I saw a woman at one night at Zany. She didn't like what I was saying. She tried to walk out, but she was yelling, man. And you are this, and you and stood up and was in front of the whole crowd. I was just you are. And then tried to storm out and walked out the front, and the door was locked, and she couldn't get the door open, and she was struggling with it. Then she had to walk all the way back. Everybody was just looking at her, laughing. And then she came and grabbed her boyfriend because he wasn't gonna leave, and they all had, but never, nothing, no swingers at all, nothing like that. It's like, oh, man.
I don't know. Yeah.
You should. I wish you had known that. Marvin's story was the closer, actually. This, that was.
I know, man. Look.
Yeah, that was the closer there.
Yeah, exactly. Next time I'm gonna see questions ahead of time, but they just coming.
Oh man.
You know what, Ken Brown, and let me say, Ken Brown is one of the funniest guys that I know, and we were talking about funny. someone who's funny versus a comedian, I think Ken Brown has the potential to really write comedy, because I look at a lot of his posts and just the level of timing, even when he communicates. He's been on the shows. We talked about some other things, but he's someone I think is a brilliant comedic or humorous mind. I'd love to see him get involved in the writing aspect of comedy. But he's got a couple questions. Shout out to Ken Brown. And this is something that has been a little bit of a lightning rod of a topic. Feel free to speak to your comfort level in answering this question. And that is, how do you feel about Black comedians when they use the N-word in front of a white audience? When they say the word nigger in front of a white audience. Have you done that? What are your thoughts about it? Do we want to stay away from it?
I say it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's how you use it, you know.
Okay.
You know, if you know that word is it's crazy, because I mean it depends on your age. You know, my age demographic, it's in our language. You know,
Right.
you know, that's how we talk. And I understand why my elders wouldn't like that word, or people who don't use it. But you know, me and comedians who talk, you know, like I said, that's in our everyday language. So it's not. I guess it's how you use it, you know. But you know, I don't. If I'm performing in front of white people, I'm not holding nothing back. You know, I'm not. I'm doing my shit. I'm doing me, and you know, that's just it. You know, you booked me.
I agree with
Right.
Marvin. I host a club in Cedar Lake, Indiana, with all white people, and I've seen different comics come in and do shows and, you know, do their routine. I don't think it's noticed if you're funny. If the material is funny, I don't think it's noticed. I've seen it become more impactful if they saying it and ain't nobody laughing from the get-go. So I don't use it. I don't think I use it. I don't know. I can't recall, but that's not something that I say regularly.
Right.
But I have seen a lot of comics just be funny as hell and say that word, and it doesn't, you know, do anything. But if you're not funny and you say it, then that becomes definitely a mark.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm of the mind of both of these cats. I mean, I've said it on stage. I've gone back and forth, man. Like, you know, I used to first coming up, I'm not going to say it, but then I say it. And I think if, like I said, if a cat is funny, to me, if he's funny and he's saying it, that just makes it funnier, you know? But I go back and forth, man, because I tell you what, Chappelle says it a lot, which is fine, you know, fine. And not that I don't want to start sounding like Cosby, you know, start to moralize, and I don't want to do that. But there was a few times he was saying it, and I have really no problem. But he said it. He was talking about something in reference to his son in front of a bunch of white things. And I said, "Nigga, you know, calling his son that, I don't know." That one was that kind of maybe gave me a little pause. But generally, man, you know, freedom of speech and all those things, and I respect cats that don't say it, you know, if they choose not to. But like Rodney was saying, if you funny and you're saying it, then that's another, you know, that's just more spice, I guess, you know, because but like Marvin was saying, because I mean it goes all the way back to Pryor, you know, who was the king, you know what I mean, and at the time, you know, it was just so striking and startling that he would use that. You know what I mean? That was when, and his honesty and the way he spoke. So I don't know, man. If it seems authentic, which, you know, you can't really gauge authenticity, but, you know, like somebody's not putting on airs or trying to do something that, you know.
Right.
Yeah, man. I vacillate on that all the time. But like I said, I've used it as a punchline, you know. But you know, I got no issues, I guess. In the mainly I don't. But I don't know. That's a good question, man. Now I'm thinking about it some more.
I think you probably should be. I think you probably should be funny first before you start using it. You know, I mean, because that's the only thing people are going to remember if you go up there and you don't really have a set and you just saying that word, saying nigga. But if you funny first and it just kind of flows with your style, then I don't see a problem with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like Dwayne said, you can, the audience can tell who's just saying that for as just saying it to be funny or the punchline, or they can tell if you say this all the time, it's in your vernacular. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I think the difference would be. If you're saying it and you normally don't say it, but you're saying it on stage, then yeah, that's, you know, that's a problem. But you know, so
yeah. I was at some shows, man, and heard some white folks say it, but again, and it was, you know, I think there was a time, man, in some of these, like during a period where white folks were doing that a lot in certain venues. I think they were trying to be edgy. They thought they were trying to be edgy. You know what I mean? But I always think, hey, you really want to be edgy? Go say that in front of a bunch of black people. They like to laugh too. They want to hear the joke too.
Right.
Yeah, black people like comedy. So, you know, because I heard I was in Seattle, man. I was doing this festival called Bumbershoot. It was comedy and music, and I was up there, and there was this cat named, I don't know if you ever heard of David Cross. He's an actor and comedian, and he's anyway Mr. Show. And anyway, you know, like they knew him, and he was on stage, man, and he was doing this bit, and you know, again, mostly white folks. It was me and my friend Kamal, and I was up there, and it was about 300 people, man. He was going on. He was talking about his sister. He said, yeah, my sister is stupid. I mean, she's dumb. I mean, she's really dumb. I mean, she's a nigger. Like, what?
Whoa,
okay. Yeah, but the crowd, you know, white, they went crazy. I was like, man, you know, yeah, stuff like, that's a whole different thing, but yeah, you know.
Well, you know what? Well, you know what? Let's switch gears, because again, that was something that was asked about, and I know it continues to be a topic of conversation. And really, there is no right or wrong answer, but I think how you guys described it, concentrate on being funny first. Is it applicable? Is it part of who you are, and is it part of just the ebb and flow of your vernacular, your conversation? So absolutely. So let me ask you, one of the things that we're seeing now is we may not go back to the way things were. You know, entertainment potentially may look different. The way that we interact and engage in crowded and public places may look different. How are you dealing with, or how are you looking at modifying your craft of comedy, given the fact that you may not be able to perform in front of a full club or a full venue, or you might have to do things more on a virtual aspect? How are you thinking about adjusting your craft to fit what may be the new normal moving forward? Let me start with Marvin. I'll go Rodney, then Dwayne.
I've been adjusting, man. I bought me a mic. I bought me some lights.
Okay.
I bought, you know, I just want to be prepared either way. You know, I just always been taught to be a comic, be able to make people laugh, whether I'm on a computer, whether I'm in front of you. You know, I just want to be able to do it all, you know. So, and I mean, things actually is opening back up. It's a lot of, it seemed like it's more now, you know, more shows are creating now. It's just, it's crazy. But I did a lot of, during the quarantine and stuff, I was doing a lot of stuff like this. So I just want to be prepared either way, whether we're doing it, you know, live again on stage or via, you know, podcast or Zoom or StreamYard. So I just want to be well-rounded, you know, just preparing myself, because the material work, you know, regardless, you know, my personality, my sense of humor. So I just need a microphone. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I hear that, you know, it's great that you're able to diversify your delivery, you know, because you might not, like you said, you might not be in front of an audience. And as a comedian, how does that feel different? Because I know sometimes as a comedian, as an entertainer, you feed off the energy of the people. How was that different for you, Marvin? I know you talked about it, and then I'll go Rodney, and then.
You know what? It was different. It was different, but I've learned like I wasn't doing stand up. I was just tell my jokes in like a story, you know, because with stand up you're waiting on the timing, they laughed, and so you don't have that feedback when you're, you know, like this with an audience. So I would just go into my jokes like a story, and I would see people laughing or, you know, saying that it's funny or whatever through the comments and stuff. But it was an adjustment.
Okay.
Because you don't know if people laughing or not. But I just know for me to get through it, how I had to do my jokes. You know, it was sort of like what Byron Allen do on his show, that panel. You know, you just setting up your own jokes, and I know how to do that because I watch this show all the time. So I'm just saying things to say what I want to say, just setting up my own jokes, basically. You know what I'm saying? So it's doable, but you know.
Yeah. Rodney, how about you? Moving forward,
for me, I actually I did a virtual show. I did it on my own, and I actually had my wife host it because I wanted to capture the moment. It was so much going on, and I wanted to write based on the moment of everything happening in real time. So I did the virtual show, and it's a huge difference because, like Marvin said, you don't get that immediate reaction. So I knew that would make me write more detail, and also try to, you know, present the story and making sure that it was a really good punchline. And then, you know, because I couldn't vibe off of anyone other than how strong I felt the joke was. So it forced me to continue to go over my punchlines and rewrite them and redo it and put it out there, because once you put it out there in the virtual world, either you funny or you looking like a fool. So you want to make sure that stuff is, you know, actually funny, entertaining. So I did that. So that helped. And I also wanted to write based on, like I said, what was going on now. I thought that would be a good writing experience just to capture the moment. So that was my experience. And I did a couple of more virtual shows after that. So it helped out. But, you know, nothing beats, you know, being in the crowd, being in the club. It's hard to gauge that energy in that moment unless I prefer to be in the room. And even if I like comics, I really can't give a real, I don't know, my perspective on them until I'm in the room, because it's so different. You can see it, like we watch comics on TV. You can see a comic on TV and you can see them killing, but it's so much being missed if you are not in that room while they're performing. So that's a big part of the game.
True story. I used to think Mike Epps wasn't funny. I used to say this. I used to say it to people, right? But I saw him live in LA, and he had my stomach hurt, you know, and that's just testimony to what Rodney was saying is you have to see people live, man. You have to be in that room, you know, to give a real, you know, real judgment on that comic, man. Because I swore by a Bible, Mike Epps not funny. But man, I saw that brother live. He messed my whole understanding up that night.
I saw him live too, Marvin, in LA. And I mean, from beginning to end, I mean, just the crowd, it was crazy, man. The energy, and because he got up there, he had such a comfort level. It was like your cousin or your uncle up there on stage, and you didn't want to move or do nothing because you knew the chances that he could, you know, get to you in that moment. So it was, yeah.
That's a bad point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can see that. Dwayne, how about you? And how you're moving forward?
Well, like I'm doing more of these now, you know, the online things, which I don't I enjoy doing like this. I enjoy just talking, and just doing interviews and whatnot. I'm not a big fan right now of the Zoom, like trying to do stand up online. I just don't feel it. Like Marvin was saying, just not that energy, and so right now, but I'm thinking I might have to learn to start embracing that because we might be in this situation for a minute.
Yeah.
So, but I'm thinking about maybe, I don't know, I think about doing a podcast or doing, maybe doing a show, but we'll see. But again, writing and always thinking about writing. I mean, I've even, before the pandemic, I'm always thinking about that. And just trying to be a better writer, just trying to be stronger, trying to, be as funny as I can be, just to be as good as I can be, and even beyond just being funny, man, just I guess or in addition to being funny, but just being compelling, man, just being, saying something somebody wants to hear. It seems like a lot of comedy is moving towards, like Marvin was saying, like storytelling, and that type of thing, and which interests me, man. But that's a style in and of itself and a structure in and of itself that I want to get better at. So, I'm just trying to acclimate myself to the COVID, to the pandemic era.
And it's interesting that you brought up that point. Ken Brown actually made a note earlier, and I apologize to everyone that's tuning in that's submitted questions. I mean, we have a whole slew of questions, page full of them. I just haven't had a chance to get around to all of them. But one of the things that Ken Brown brought up earlier was, you see people now that are being made famous as comedians or funny people via the internet, and they've never stepped on stage, or the next phase for them is going on stage. Whereas in the past, it was the opposite way around. You go on stage, you work on material, then you post things online. So we're starting to see that this may look a little different moving forward. And, to your point, Dwayne, you're talking about embracing something new for you so you can still, maintain the following and just kind of keep up with what's going on. Same thing with Rodney and Marvin, because this may be the new normal for a little while.
Yeah, man. And, in some ways, the pandemic has leveled the field, because now, whether you have never been on TV in your life, or if you were hosting the Tonight Show, basically now everybody is doing a show from the crib. That's it. So now it's all democratized, and now it's just a matter of who likes who, but everything is online, and that's the only place where it is, So right now, your show, man, is basically delivered in the same way, like I said, the Tonight Show is, or you know what I mean, or Ellen, or whatever it is. Everybody's at the crib. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I want to be mindful of everyone's time, and I appreciate everyone jumping on the show. I just had a couple questions, a couple thoughts I wanted to get to before I let you guys go. Antonella Cremonese, and thank you, Antonella, for checking out the show. She wants to know, in your opinion, who's the most consequential or influential comedian that we have going today? Who are some that you would think, or that you would think are some of the most consequential or influential out there that are kind of setting the tone?
Chappelle.
Chappelle.
He's definitely raising the bar, and he's taking it to another level, man. You can't even do comedy the same no more without giving people something to think about, some realness. It's like that shucking and jiving comedy, I think that's kind of like, as far as stand-up go, like, it's like you really have to be on some Dave Chappelle type shit. It's like you can't even bullshit no more as far as just making people laugh. Because Chappelle, he done raised the bar so high with being, I don't know if we want to call it conscious, but he's just giving thought, and it's funny, and he's talking about real issues, and he definitely changed the game right now. So it's like any black coming, it's like you're gonna look bad if you're not, especially in times like now, and you're talking about other shit. It's like, bro, it's a lot of shit going on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you sitting up there talking about bullshit, and it's like, no, it's, so it's definitely Chappelle right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah, I
Dave
agree.
Chappelle. He not only raises the bar, he raises his own bar
Mhm.
and makes it even harder, just with his talent level, man. And when you look at it, you're looking more at material that's gonna be around 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. Case in point, you can go back to Richard Pryor and you will see a bit about him talking about the cops putting blacks in a chokehold. And that was, I think he did that like 30, 40 years ago. And it's so relevant
Right,
now.
right.
So, and that's exactly what Dave is doing, man. He's taking it to a whole nother level. And like Dwayne said, that thought-provoking comedy and bringing something that's real, valuable to the table.
Yeah.
Dwayne,
Yeah.
your thoughts? I know it seems like you're all in agreement. Any additional thoughts on that?
Well, I tell you one thing. I'm glad about that, man. I think the styles of comedy that black people are doing, the parameters are broadening.
Yeah.
Just like Marvin was saying, just like Rodney was saying, because now there's other things that black people are engaging as performers and hopefully as audiences, because you can, if you're saying something nobody want to hear, that then, it doesn't matter. But I think hopefully also black audiences, black folks, are wanting to hear those type of things too, because like I said, the times it's urgent, man. It's urgent out here, you know. So I really like that. It makes me think about something that started in New York that's kind of spreading this aesthetic, this black aesthetic called Afro punk. Have you ever heard of that? But it's like Afro punk.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the style of it's really a more of a thought process and a style, like it's black folks who like it. Black folks who get everything. They have the sensibility. They get everything that, as far as an audience, they get everything that white folks get. They understand, and they get everything that black folks get. You know what I mean? So it's very eclectic, and it's a broad reaching kind of understanding of things. So I enjoy, and that's what I was saying about not just things now. It's not a matter of just being funny, but being compelling, and having some compelling things to say. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I appreciate everyone that's tuned in, guys that have come on, taking us out. We had a question. I think it's a great question. I'm going to kind of build off of it. Can you take us out, each one of you guys, with just a funny story where you've had to deal with a heckler in the audience? One of your funny heckler stories. Somebody either that got to you or that you had to light their ass up because they was doing too much. I know it's kind of Johnny on the spot. But if you got one of those, I think it'd be great to take us out with one of those if you could think of one. Because you've been to a show, and everybody's been heckled at least once. So
yeah. So for me, the great George Wilborn, I'll never forget. He told me it's two ways to deal with a heckler. Either you're gonna kill him, or you're gonna leave him alone. And so my first approach is always to try to ignore. Because I want to get these jokes off that I wrote. And it was I was at the Laugh Factory up north, drunk white lady.
Oh,
she just kept talking all night, just saying stuff. And I finally got on her ass, and I think she was with her husband. And I just went in and was just saying, I know he want to leave you, and he's probably got another wife on the side. And just like I'm talking about, like I really laid into it where, and after the show, her husband was like, hey bro, he was apologizing and stuff. And he was like, she was so mad at him because he was laughing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But had you shut the fuck up,
right.
I wouldn't have said none of that. You know what I'm saying? But that's my funny story.
But like you say, when you got the crowd and you can turn somebody's husband against them.
Oh yeah.
Man, you rocking.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what about you, Rodney? Any heckler stories?
Kind of on the lines of M Dubs. I was doing a show in Oak Lawn, and of course, everybody know Oak Lawn there's drunk white women, and I'm not sure how.
I'm hearing a theme here.
Yeah.
But this girl just, I mean, she just kept going and going. I mean, completely wasted. She walked up and she stumbled, and I just yelled out like, I was like, somewhere it's a brother in the club waiting on you right now. And the crowd just fell out.
Wait, that's usually how it goes.
Another moment, it was, I was at Jokes and Notes, and actually I was not performing, but I was waiting to get on stage. And when Black people are pissed, this is from a heckler's point of view, I mean, you never know what they might say. So the guy was performing, and he like 5 minutes into his set, nobody laughing. And this dude in the back of the club just stood up and said, "Motherfucker, I paid $20 for these tickets." Down. That was it. He sat down and started drinking. I was there, man. I was like, I never heard of like they point across that quick. And he was done after that. It was like an outburst. I was like, wow.
Oh, man.
Rodney, do you remember when Shucky Ducky came to I-State and he bombed?
I do. Yeah.
So I was a heckler one time. Shucky Ducky came, and I think he was the headliner. It wasn't Joe Torre. Guy Torre was there. Craig got up there and performed. That was the first time I saw Craig get up there and perform. Craig Robinson, but Shucky Ducky got up there. He's supposed to be the headliner, and you know everything with him was Shucky Ducky quack quack. So his material wasn't going over, and he was supposed to do like 20, 30, 40, however long the headliner goes. And my man was up there about 5 minutes, and nobody was saying nothing. And he said, "Thanks, y'all. Good night." And they cut the lights off, and I was like, that shit was Shucky Ducky, whack, whack. And the whole audience went up laughing. Yeah, so I put that asshole in the audience. You know, I respect everybody's craft, but hey, the opportunity was just there, man. So
I heard one time that Chris Rock went up after Shucky Ducky, and same thing. Shucky Ducky had gone up, eating it, you know what I mean? And then Chris came up and said, "Shucky Ducky needs some jokey wokies."
Hey, that's what we call dedication to the craft. Cause hey, you know, to each his own. His style is for me. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that was when brothers had the nicknames. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, thank you guys for being on. I want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in. I know we had a lot of questions, a lot of comments, a lot of feedback that I wasn't able to get to. You know, that just goes to show that people really engaged in this episode, really had some things that they were interested. You can always go to the Straight No Chaser video clip of this and answer some of those questions on social media when you have an opportunity. But this is what we do here at Straight No Chaser. The conversation is unfiltered. It's straight from the heart. You know, we have a good time. No topic is off subject. Nothing is taboo. And that's how we do it here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another segment of Straight No Chaser. Everyone, be well.
All right, bro.
Okay. Hey, good meeting you, Cat.